Chapter 39 England's Greatest Playwright William Shakespeare. Elizabeth worked hard ruling her country, but sometimes she took time off to enjoy herself. She loved music, and she kept a 50-person choir and full orchestra at court. She paid composers to write songs for her choir. She even sang herself, playing the lyre, an instrument with strings, as accompaniment. She liked poetry and wrote a few verses herself. Most of all, she enjoyed seeing a good play, especially a play written by William Shakespeare, England's most famous playwright. Shakespeare was born 6 years after Elizabeth became queen. When he was young, he acted in a traveling company that went from town to town, performing plays in wooden theaters and in the courtyards of inns. When he grew a little older, Shakespeare and several friends formed their own band of actors. Shakespeare acted parts, helped choose costumes, ran rehearsals, found props, and wrote plays. He wrote comedies, funny plays, such as The Taming of the Shrew, about a hot-tempered woman who has to marry a man she doesn't like, and A Midsummer Night's Dream about fairies who play tricks on people who wander through the woods. He wrote tragedies, sad plays such as Hamlet, about a prince who has to avenge his father's death, and Romeo and Juliet, about a boy and girl who fall in love even though their families hate each other. And he wrote historical plays based on the lives of great men and women in the past. Richard III tells the story of the English king who took the throne from the princes in the Tower. Henry V is about the Battle of Agincourt in France. In all, Shakespeare wrote many more than 40 plays. They have been performed over and over again for the last 450 years. Shakespeare's plays have been translated into almost every language. They have been made into movies, written about in books, and studied in schools. Some of the most familiar phrases in English come from Shakespeare's plays. Have you ever heard someone say, "Something is rotten in the state of Denmark"? Or, "To be or not to be, that is the question"? Both lines are from Hamlet. A horse, my kingdom for a horse," is from Richard III. Has your mother ever said, "You're going to eat me out of house and home"? Shakespeare first used that expression in Henry IV, Part 2, and if you've ever heard jealousy called the green-eyed monster, you've heard a line from Othello. One of Shakespeare's most famous plays, Macbeth, tells about a nobleman who wants to be king. Here is the beginning of the story. Macbeth. Scotland was at war. White-haired King Duncan, afraid that a band of rebels would throw him from his throne, sent his cousin Macbeth and Macbeth's trusted friend, Banquo, to fight the rebels. He waited anxiously to hear the outcome of the battle. Finally, a soldier arrived, covered with blood, straight from the battlefield. Macbeth faced the enemy with brandished steel. The soldier gasped. He fixed their leader's head upon the battlements. He and Banquo have fought like cannons overcharged with double cracks. "Valiant cousin," King Duncan cried out, "great happiness," and he decreed that Macbeth would receive a new noble title, Thane of Cawdor. Thane is a Scottish word for a warrior who fights for the king. Meanwhile, Macbeth and Banquo were trudging home across a blasted heath, a bare, barren field, through fog and wind. Suddenly, they saw 3 weird women crouched around a fire. "Hail!" the weird women cackled. "Hail, Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor, King of Scotland to be, and hail, Banquo, you will not be king, but you will be father to kings." And then they disappeared. "Where'd they go?" Banquo asked. "Have we gone insane? I'm not the father of kings." "And why did they call you Thane of Cawdor and King of Scotland? You're neither." But just then the messengers arrived. "Macbeth, they said. "We have brought you word from King Duncan. He has made you Thane of Cawdor." When Macbeth heard this news, he was disturbed. The words of the weird women had already begun to come true. But how could he become King of Scotland as well as Thane of Cawdor? His cousin Duncan was king. Then Macbeth realized that he could become king if he turned traitor and had Duncan murdered. But he thrust the thought away from him. "Let not light see my black and deep desires," he muttered to himself. But the idea stayed with him. He wrote a letter to his wife, Lady Macbeth, who was still in their castle back home. He told her about the weird women and their words. At once, Lady Macbeth seized onto the idea of Duncan's death. If her husband became king, she would become queen. But she thought to herself, "Macbeth is too full of the milk of human kindness to murder his cousin." Just as she finished reading her husband's letter, Lady Macbeth heard a messenger approaching the castle. The messenger wore the royal colors. "The king comes here tonight," the messenger announced, sliding from his horse. "Macbeth is with him. They are returning from the battlefront. Make everything ready." At once, Lady Macbeth decided that she and Macbeth would murder King Duncan that very night. She paced the room, convincing herself that she was brave enough for such a deed. "Spirit of courage and ambition, fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty," she growled to herself. "Make thick my blood, let no regret or conscience shake my purpose." As she spoke these horrible words, Macbeth came into the room. "Duncan is with me," he said. Lady Macbeth put her hand on his arm. "He must be provided for," she said, with great meaning. But although Macbeth knew what his wife meant, he turned away from her. The idea of becoming king was more and more wonderful to him, but he was not yet ready to kill his cousin, King Duncan. Just then the king himself entered, with Banquo and other noblemen. At once Lady Macbeth was all smiles. "Your Majesty," she cried, "you load your house with honor. Our servants are yours. Come to the hall where a great feast has been laid for you." And she led the king from the room. Macbeth remained, fretting to himself. "If I were going to do it," he mumbled, "I would need to do it quickly, not wait. But oh, what a dreadful deed it would be! He is here, both as my king and as my cousin. I am his host. I should shut the door against murderers, not bear the knife myself. Oh, I do not have enough determination to do this thing." When Lady Macbeth returned, having taken Duncan and others to the dining hall, Macbeth said stern, "Lady, we will go no further with this dreadful plan. He has just given me a great honor. How can I do this?" "What?" Lady Macbeth snapped back. "Are you afraid? You'll have to live with your cowardice the rest of your life. Be a man. Screw your courage to the sticking place. When Duncan is asleep, I'll give his guards drugged wine, so that they sleep like pigs, and then we'll say that his guards did it." "But will they believe us?" Macbeth asked nervously. "Of course they will," Lady Macbeth said. "We'll be weeping so hard over Duncan's death that they'll never suspect us." What do you think Macbeth will decide to do when the story continues?